3 months ago, I thought I was simply helping my husband survive his insomnia. I cooked, cleaned, raised our 3 kids, even offered him a hotel room so he could finally rest. Instead, he turned my kindness into a demand, forcing me onto the couch while he claimed the bed as his healing space. Each night I lost more sleep, and each morning I carried the full weight of our family while he guarded his comfort like treasure. I wanted to believe it was temporary, but then he said something that shattered me. What I'm asking isn't unreasonable. If you asked anyone who knows us, they'd say I'm the strong one, the organized one, the one who keeps everything from falling apart when life throws its usual punches. I used to wear that like a badge of honor, until I realized it made me invisible. My husband had always been a bit delicate about sleep. He'd get thrown off by the smallest things. A loud neighbor, a weird dream, the wrong kind of light. So when he started having serious insomnia 3 months ago, I didn't roll my eyes or tell him to toughen up. I leaned in. I booked him a doctor's appointment, researched sleep studies, took over bedtime duty for our 3 kids, 10, 6, and 3, while still working part-time and managing everything else at home. I even suggested he book a hotel room to get uninterrupted rest. He refused. Instead, he decided to sleep on the couch. And to everyone's surprise, it worked. The white noise machine, the isolation, he finally got some rest. I was happy for him. Truly. But then came his next idea. He wanted me to sleep on the couch. For a few nights, he said. Just while I get my rhythm back. I didn't protest. He looked so tired and I thought, this is temporary. He'll appreciate the gesture. But days turned into a week. Then longer. I was running on fumes, sleeping poorly on an old couch while still juggling the kids, the dishes, the school runs, the birthday parties, the nighttime fevers, the surprise grocery trips, and the 2 a.m. nightmares. He never asked how I was sleeping. He never offered to trade places, not even for one night. And when I finally brought it up, not in anger but in exhaustion, his response was so cold it made my stomach twist. What I'm asking isn't unreasonable. You know how important sleep is. You're not doing anything else right now, are you? It hit me like a slap. I wasn't just being ignored. I was being used. I started to wonder how long this had really been going on, not the insomnia but the pattern. The entitlement. The quiet belief that I existed to carry weight so he could breathe easier. Everything was about to change. The first night I gave up our bed, it felt like a one-time act of love. He was sitting on the edge of the mattress, rubbing his temples. Babe, I can't do another night like this. My brain won't shut off. I offered to sleep on the couch without hesitation. You need the rest more than I do, I said, thinking of the dark circles under his eyes and the slowness in his voice. He looked grateful. I kissed him goodnight, tucked the blanket around me on the lumpy sofa, and tried to convince myself that discomfort was temporary. He slept great that night. So well, in fact, that the next morning he practically floated into the kitchen. Best sleep I've had in weeks, he said, pouring coffee like it was a victory toast. Can we do that again tonight? That was the first red flag. I blinked. You mean, you want me to sleep on the couch again? Just until I'm back on track. You've seen how bad it's been. He wasn't wrong, the last 3 weeks had been rough. But something in me hesitated. Still I smiled and nodded. Sure. A couple of nights. By night 4 my back ached. The armrest dug into my ribs no matter how I positioned myself. The sound machine he left running in the bedroom leaked through the hallway like static fog. I barely slept. That's when our 3-year-old had a coughing fit in the middle of the night. I jolted awake, instinct kicking in, and spent an hour rocking her back to sleep while he remained undisturbed behind the closed bedroom door. In the morning, I asked if he could give me a break that afternoon so I could nap. Yeah, of course, he said, scrolling through his phone. But when 2 p.m. rolled around, he said he was too stressed from work and needed to decompress. That was when something shifted in me. It wasn't just sleep anymore, it was access. Access to rest, to time, to help. He was getting it all and I was quietly running on reserve. I started to track how often he said, "I'm tired" versus how often I did. The numbers weren't even close, but the sympathy? Always in his favor. I thought it was just a phase. I told myself he'd notice eventually how much I was carrying. But the silence that followed was deafening. By night 6, I didn't recognize the sound of my own voice. It was thinner, strained. I'd started whispering to myself when I brushed my teeth. Not affirmations, just reminders. You're fine. It's temporary. One more day. That morning, as I packed the kids' lunches, he came in rubbing his neck and said, "Hey, I know it's a lot to ask, but can we keep this setup going until I leave for my work trip?" I looked up from the counter. "That's 3 more nights." He nodded. "Yeah, I just need consistency right now." My hand tightened around the sandwich knife. I wanted to ask what I needed. I wanted to scream that I'd been on high-alert parenting mode for weeks, while sleeping on a damn couch that smelled like old peanut butter crackers and toddler socks. Instead I said, "Okay," but something in my voice made him pause. He glanced at me and added, "I'll owe you one." That was supposed to make me feel better. It didn't. 2 of the kids had colds that week, which meant sleepless nights for them and for me. I was up at 3 a.m. holding a bucket, wiping noses, changing sheets. He stayed in bed. When I peeked in, I saw him sprawled comfortably, one arm behind his head, snoring. That image stayed with me all day. At dinner, I was so tired I almost poured apple juice into the pasta. When I asked him again for just 1 hour to rest after dinner, he blinked and said, "Well, I was going to decompress with a podcast." It was the second time in 2 days he'd chosen his peace over mine. Later, I found a sticky note on the fridge in his handwriting. "By queen-sized mattress. Need separate sleep space." No discussion. No "what do you think?" That was my second red flag. He didn't see me as a partner in this. I was support staff. Logistics manager. Sleep sacrifice. The next morning I brought it up gently. "Hey, if we're buying another bed, can we choose together?" He barely looked up from his phone. "I assumed you'd handle it. You're good at that stuff." Something cracked. That's when I realized it wasn't just about sleep. It was about entitlement. His healing was allowed to be messy. Mine was expected to be silent. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. By the 8th night, I felt like a ghost haunting my own living room. My body had adjusted to running on fumes, but my mind? It was fraying. I'd start doing dishes and forget halfway through. Words stumbled out of my mouth in the wrong order. I snapped at the kids over nothing, and hated myself for it. So I finally said it. After the kids were asleep and he was brushing his teeth, I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, his bedroom now, and said, "I'm not sleeping well on the couch. I'm exhausted. And honestly, I feel really hurt that you keep asking me to do this." He didn't even pause. He spat into the sink, wiped his mouth, and looked at me in the mirror. Then he said, flatly, "What I'm asking isn't unreasonable." That exact sentence. No warmth. No empathy. Just that. I blinked. "You think me giving up sleep for 8 nights while doing all the childcare and housework is reasonable?" He turned toward me, leaning against the counter. "You're a mental health professional. You know how important sleep is. You even said it. I'm doing what I need to get better." My hands were trembling. "And what about what I need?" "You can have the bed if it matters that much," he said, shrugging. "But if you're going to do that, please take the kids out and buy a mattress today. Or I'll get one after work, but then you're handling dinner and bedtime." My throat dried up. I stared at him like he'd turned into someone I didn't know. "You're not doing anything else right now anyway," he added. And there it was. The line that made something in me collapse. I wasn't just sleep deprived. I was invisible. I turned around without replying, walked to the bathroom, and locked the door. My legs were shaking. I sat on the floor and stared at the grout lines in the tile until my eyes blurred. He thought my exhaustion didn't count. That my efforts were just nothing. That because I wasn't visibly broken, I didn't deserve rest. And the worst part? A few years ago I would have believed him. I would have twisted myself into a guilt pretzel, wondering if I was being unfair. But not this time. This time I saw the shape of the pattern, and I was done calling it love. I didn't say much the next day. Not because I'd forgiven him, but because I was busy watching. Watching how often he said thank you. Watching how many breaks he gave himself versus the ones he gave me. Watching how quickly he labeled his needs essential, and mine optional. It was like someone had wiped fog off a mirror. I saw everything more clearly now. He got home that evening, dropped his work bag by the door, and walked straight into the bedroom. No greeting. No, "How was your day?" No, "How are the kids?" 5 minutes later, He was lying on the bed watching YouTube with noise-canceling headphones while I was unclogging a toilet with one hand and holding our 3-year-old with the other. I stood in the hallway and stared at him through the open door. He looked peaceful, completely undisturbed. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about sleep anymore. This was about how easily he had opted out of the partnership. When had I become the default parent, the default cook, the default cleaner, the default everything? I tried to pinpoint a moment, a specific shift, but there wasn't one. It was a slow bleed, 1,000 tiny compromises that never got replenished. I remembered the time he called me lucky for working part-time. The way he smirked when I said I was tired and replied, "From what?" The quiet expectations, that I'd absorb the impact so he could stay balanced. That evening, when I finally sat down after bedtime routines and cleaning up scattered Lego, I found a message from my friend Sam. "Hey, how are you holding up? You've been quiet." I hesitated, then typed, "Do you think it's normal for your partner to sleep alone in your shared bed for over a week while you do all the childcare and sleep on the couch?" Sam replied in under 10 seconds, "No, that's not normal. That's selfish as hell." Her words hit harder than I expected, because I realized I needed someone else to say it, to validate that what I felt wasn't just whining or overthinking. I closed my eyes and whispered something to myself. This is what erosion looks like. Not one big betrayal, just small sharp cuts, every single day. And I knew, if I didn't put a stop to it, I'd wake up 5 years from now still on that couch, but with even less of myself left. It was time to make a choice. The next morning I decided to try again. Not to plead, not to beg, just to reach for something softer. We were sitting at the breakfast table. The kids were arguing about who got the last banana, and he was half listening with his phone face up next to the cereal box. I cleared my throat. I was thinking, maybe we could figure out a new sleep setup together. Something that works for both of us. He didn't look up. I thought we already had one. I paused. Yeah, but I'm not really sleeping, and it's making me short with the kids. I just think we need to revisit it. He sighed loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm about to travel for work. Can we not do this right now? My shoulders tightened, but I didn't react. I'm not trying to fight. I just don't think it's sustainable for me to be this exhausted and still handle everything. That word, everything, hung in the air like a challenge. He finally looked up. So what are you saying? You want to swap? You take the bed, I take the couch. I shook my head. No. I want to figure it out together. Even just alternating. Or getting a new mattress like you mentioned, but making the decision together as partners. He rubbed his eyes. Fine. I'll go after work today and get one. I stared at him. You mean we'll go? No, he said flatly. You have the kids. Unless you want to take them with you. That's when I realized. He wasn't hearing me. I wasn't trying to negotiate who bought what. I was asking to be seen. But he thought the problem was logistics. Furniture. Not the fact that I was drowning. Still I nodded. Okay. Fine. Later that day, he texted me a photo of a queen-size mattress in the back of a pickup truck. Handled. I'll set it up after dinner. For a moment I felt hopeful. Maybe this was progress. Maybe he was finally stepping up. But then 7 p.m. rolled around, and he dropped the mattress at the doorway like it was a donation. You'll need to move stuff around in the guest room, he said, grabbing a beer from the fridge. It doesn't fit with the crib in there. I looked at the mattress, then at the baby monitor in my hand. I'm holding a sleeping toddler, I said. He shrugged. Then wait till she's down. No apology. No help. Just another task dumped at my feet. That flicker of hope gone. It wasn't a compromise. It was a handoff. And I was done pretending this was a partnership. I didn't explode that night. I waited. I moved furniture. I set up the mattress. I bathed the kids. I made dinner. I cleaned. I sang lullabies with a scratchy throat and blurry eyes. All while he lounged on the couch, my couch now, watching videos, occasionally chuckling to himself. The same couch that had given me a stiff neck for over a week. The same couch where I'd cried silently at 3 a.m. while our toddler coughed into my chest. It took everything in me not to scream. But the scream came the next morning. He was getting ready for his trip, throwing clothes into a duffel bag, looking annoyingly refreshed. He caught me watching him and smiled. This trip's going to be good for me. I need the mental reset. A vacation. He had tacked 3 personal days onto his business trip. He was going to hike, to eat out, to sleep in. I said nothing, until he added, "You'll be fine, right? You've got your bed now." That's when I snapped. "I've got a mattress in a storage room," I said, my voice shaking, "next to a pile of outgrown baby clothes and a broken humidifier. That's not a bed. That's exile." He froze. I kept going. "For over a week I've been doing everything alone, and not once did you ask how I'm doing. You didn't offer help. You didn't even notice. And now you're going on a personal retreat while I keep spinning every plate. Sleep-deprived, unsupported, invisible." He opened his mouth, probably to say something like, "You're overreacting." But I didn't let him. "You know what hurts the most? I used to believe you were just overwhelmed, that you'd make it up to me when you felt better. But now? I see it clearly. You just got used to me carrying it all. And you liked it." He blinked. "That's not fair. Isn't it?" I asked. "Because you sure didn't mind when I was dragging myself through the day on 3 hours of sleep while you reset, in silence." He tried to play defense. "You offered to help. I didn't force you." That line. That coward's line. "Yes," I said. "I offered. And you saw that as a pass. A pass to stop showing up, to stop checking in, to stop being a husband." Silence. It was the first time he looked unsure. But it didn't matter anymore. Because I wasn't waiting for him to agree with me. I'd already made up my mind. The morning he left for his trip, I woke up in the storage room to the sound of his suitcase wheels clicking across the hallway floor. I didn't say goodbye. He didn't either. Instead, he left a note on the fridge in his usual passive tone. "Don't forget to water the plants. Back Tuesday night." No thanks. No love you. No acknowledgement of the storm he left behind. By noon, I'd cleared the master bedroom. His side table? Gone. His sleep routine sound machine? Unplugged. The lavender pillow mist and blackout mask? Back in the drawer. I opened the windows, washed the sheets, and lit a candle I'd been saving. Not for any special reason. Just because I wanted my space to smell like mine again. I didn't ask. I didn't text. That night, I tucked the kids into bed, made myself tea, and climbed into my bed, and slept for 8 uninterrupted hours. And when I woke up, I didn't feel guilty. I felt awake. He called on the second night of his trip. I let it ring. He texted later. "Everything okay?" I replied, "Yes, we're fine." Short. Simple. He didn't call again. I know how this will go. When he returns, he'll try to pick up where he left off, acting like nothing happened, assuming I've calmed down. But I haven't calmed down. I've clarified. I'm not negotiating with someone who saw me as a service instead of a spouse. I'm not bending to a man who defines support as silence from the other room. This isn't about a mattress. It never was. It's about not being reduced to someone else's comfort zone. So when he walks through the door, I'll be waiting. Not with anger, but with boundaries. I'm not giving him the bed back. I'm giving myself back the life I stopped claiming. It's been a few weeks since that final morning. He's back from his mental reset. And for once he seems unsure of where he stands. Good. Because now there are rules. I don't sleep on couches for people who won't lose a single hour of comfort for me. I don't explain exhaustion to someone who watched me carry a family solo and still called it doing nothing. He tried small talk the first few days. Tried to inch back in like nothing happened. But I don't flinch anymore. I don't fill the silence. I let it do the talking for me. I'm not trying to punish him. I'm trying to protect myself. And if he wants a future with me, he can't treat our relationship like a hotel, expecting service, comfort, and quiet without ever being part of the work. The bed was just the beginning. Reclaiming it showed me how far I drifted from my own worth. Now I'm anchoring myself again. Not with noise machines or schedules, but with self-respect. Let me ask you, have you ever realized you were being treated like background support in your own relationship? What did it take for you to finally reclaim your space?